Okay, you guys, it's time to talk about some shitty products again. Some of these are ones that I've purchased. Actually, the bulk of them are items that I've purchased, and one of them was a PR sample. And these videos are actually kind of fun. It is very cathartic to let loose my frustration in these products on camera, because I get feedback from you guys that you actually enjoy this. So hey, I'm happy to provide the content. So the first one that we're gonna kick off is one that actually makes me mad by just how bad this thing is. This is The Ordinary's Coverage Foundation. And I was so excited to try this because so many people love it to pieces. It's a Canadian brand. It is inexpensive. I think this bottle is like $5.99. And so many people have raved about just how good this stuff is. But this thing is actually bullshit. It is so bad. I posted a first impressions time trial on this, and it looked okay going on, and I thought, hey, this is actually gonna be a good foundation to wear. And by the end of the day, I looked like I'd aged 10 years. It was unbelievable. This was so bad at doing anything. Yes, it did provide full coverage when I put it on, but within 2 hours, my face was dehydrated but oily. I looked like I had been sweating for hours. There was like oil clumps and it gathered in weird places, and yet my face felt dry. I felt itchy, like I wanted to scratch my face off. It was so freaking bad. Since I posted that video, I have had some comments from people encouraging me to try primers with foundations, or, you know, a powder or something like that. And fundamentally, I understand. If a product is bad, maybe it's usually in your application of it. However, I have to point out the fact that I have a whole range of foundations sitting in my makeup collection that don't require a primer, that don't require a powder, that don't require extra TLC. And frankly, I'm not going to go to the effort to try to make this thing work when it's $6. My general idea towards foundation is that I shouldn't have to make it work. I can be a pretty dry skinned person, so for a foundation to make me oily is completely unheard of and totally unnecessary. I don't need it in my life. I've got other products that work much better. So in case it wasn't clear, I can't steer anyone far enough away from this. I think it is absolute crap. The next one I'm gonna talk about is a product that just came out and really doesn't make any sense to me. So this is the Maybelline and Gigi Hadid Tinted Primer. It says right on the front, Tinted Primer. Remember that. This is the shade medium deep, but it's not, yeah, medium deep, but this is not the one that I tried on my face for the video that I just posted a few weeks ago. I tried out the light to medium shade. And it's a tinted primer, so your first reaction is that it's going to be a light coverage base for your foundation. Potentially you could wear it as a BB cream. Apparently that's not what this product is. In reading the back, this is a contour primer. What even is that? It doesn't say it on the front, and one would only assume, based on the fact that it says tinted primer, that it is one. But the back of the tube says, Gigi shares her secret weapon for her perfected, freshly contoured face. Use a tinted primer that's at least 2 shades darker than your foundation. Apply this lightweight tinted base to contour before applying foundation. Okay, first of all, what am I supposed to do? Apply the tinted primer only where I would contour? Because it doesn't say that either. It's just saying apply this first, even though it's darker, and then apply your foundation. No, just no. This product is just mislabeled in general because it's supposed to be a contour primer, but you would never know just looking at the front of the tube. And also, that's a really bizarre concept. And number two, I get that they're saying that it should be 2 shades darker than your own skin. However, I don't think that's a thing, and something labeled light medium should be able to match me if I'm actually a light medium shade. I feel like the light to medium color was like 5 or 6 or 7 shades darker than my own skin, and I do not feel that the term light should be associated with that product at all. When I put it on my face in that video, you can see my reaction. I'm just like, absolutely not. This is not happening. So this one is just weird, and no. The next product is disappointing to me because I so desperately wanted to love this and it just did not work out. So I have mentioned many times in the past that I love brush tip liquid liners that are in a pen style format. And the drugstore doesn't have a whole lot of options available to us. So there is the Physicians Formula liner, the eye booster, which is great, but that was pretty much it until NYX released the Epic ink liner. And this is a black liquid liner, pen style, with a brush tip, which is fantastic. So I got this at IMATS New York, I think it was last year, and I only just got around to using it because I was using up other pen liners. And I have to say, while this is incredibly inky and incredibly fluid and easy to apply because the brush tip is really nice on it, this is so weird in the sense that it feathers on my inner corner of my eye, and I have never experienced that before. Not with any other liquid liners that I have ever used. And I thought I was the only person that this was happening to, but I've seen some of my friends, more specifically Haley, filmed a comparison video between this one and Kat Von D's tattoo liner. And you can see how when the product hits the inner corner of the eye, it just starts to bleed outwards. And you could say, oh, maybe you're just applying it a little bit too close to where your eye is actually wet. I mean, maybe, but I've applied other liquid liners before. It's not my first rodeo, you know, and I've never had this problem. So I was okay-ish using this just because it does create a beautiful flick. It is so fluid on the outer corner of my eye, and I was okay using it that way, even though there was doing a little bit of bleeding on the inner corner. Until one day, the bleeding was so intense that I ended up looking like I'd punched myself in the face. I don't know what happened, but a smear happened there, and then it just traveled all the way up my eye and destroyed my eyeshadow. And I went, no, we're done. We are broken up. I don't want you in my life anymore. That is unacceptable. So yeah, just sad to say this is not gonna work out for me. I would recommend the Art Deco High Precision Liner or the Kat Von D Tattoo Liner over this one for sure. And you know what? It is worth spending more money to get a liquid liner that's not gonna treat you poorly. And lastly, I have two palettes that I am so sad about because I really wanted to love these, and you're gonna notice a theme between the two of them. So I mentioned in a haul a few months ago that I finally got the opportunity to get my hands on Sigma's Creme de Couture palette. This came out like 6 years ago, I think, and it was limited edition and we never saw it again. And I wasn't buying a lot of basically no-name brand makeup back then because Sigma wasn't a huge brand. They were only known for their brushes. And I just left it. But I have regretted leaving that ever since. And when it came back in stock, I was like, absolutely, I'm picking it up. So the palette is beautiful and you can see exactly why I was drawn into it. The colors are gorgeous. They look pigmented. They're almost neon. They're kind of pastel. They're bright. It's just something that really draws me in. So imagine my disappointment when I get it and I just don't like it. I sadly remember trying to apply this to my face before work one morning and hating my eye look so badly that I applied it not once, not twice, but I had to do it a third time because I could just not figure out how to get this color combination to work for me. Now I'm pretty versed in colorful eyeshadow. I don't tend to struggle with color combinations, but most things I did with this just turned out really gross. And I was just so sad with how bad this looked every single time that I used it that I just kind of stopped using it. And I mean, I kind of still want to dig into it. I almost want to force myself to love it because I wanted it for so long. But man, I've been so disappointed with this palette. It's kind of patchy, it's a little bit powdery. The color combinations don't really go together that well. You're not left with very many outer corner colors. I may be talking about these palettes kind of in reverse order because the Creme de Couture palette was only available more recently, but when the Kat Von D Pastel Goth palette came out, I thought that this was going to be a good enough sort of replacement for this palette, which I didn't own at the time. Hope you can follow that story. So this came out, I think, in January of last year, and I was excited because, again, we're looking at neon shades that are bright, kind of pastel, not totally dissimilar to this palette, although I acknowledge there is far more color in this palette than this one. So I was hoping that this one was going to fill the void that this one had left behind because I didn't own it at the time. But it's no good either. I mean, the shadow quality is fine. It's Kat Von D's usual high quality shadows. I just feel the color combination is utterly useless to me. It's labeled as the Pastel Goth palette, but if I cover these shades and the blue one, everything else is just dusty. And that's usually used to describe an eyeshadow when it's got a lot of gray in it, and that's what I feel these remaining colors look like. They just look gray. So Yes, this can look a little bit vibrant in the palette, but overall, most of these are gray toned shadows, and that can be very difficult to use on your eyes if you don't have something to contrast it with. So whenever I tried to create an eyeshadow look using only this palette, I often got stuck because the color combinations just don't really work together. As an accessory palette to another palette that you may have, I think this is a good thing, but I also think that you basically need deeper tones and brighter tones of these kinds of shades. I need like a more dark orange or a dark brown to go with this. I need something that's brighter than these two in the purple and pink family. The blue is actually pretty decent, and that's one of the colors that I'm the most pleased with. But I don't know, in general, I just found this to be such a letdown. And really, the white and the gray here are such a waste of space. They should have taken those two out and added more range of colors in here in order to make it a little bit more cohesive. This is one of those things right alongside the Creme de Couture palette where I feel like I need to force myself to love it just because I think it looks pretty. And in practice, it just doesn't work out. And I can't let go of my feeling of wanting to love this, but God, it's just so disappointing. So that sadly is going to be my roundup of recent products that I've tried that I've just not fallen in love with, and in fact, on some scales, quite hated. That Ordinary foundation is totally unacceptable. So tell me something that you haven't liked recently. Maybe you bought something and it just turned out to be garbage, or you tried something out in a store, swatched it, and you were like, oh, that's not for me. I would love to hear what you're not so in love with lately. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.